I'm Jim Collison, live from the Gallup studios here in Omaha, Nebraska, as well as the Gallup offices in India. This is Gallup's Called to Coach, recorded on March 20th, 2018. Called to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions about this webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you right below the main video window. I'm not there yet, but I will be here in just a few minutes. You can log in bottom left-hand corner, choose the guest account, put your name in where it says guest, and we will be out there answering your questions live. If you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for your organization, you can contact us, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, or you can use the contact form right there on the live page. And of course, don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center, just gallupstrengthscenter.com, for all your Clifton Strengths coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening. We call that podcasting. That's available for you as well on our coaches blog. Head out to coaching.gallup.com. Pooja Luthra is our host today. She works as an advanced consultant in Gallup in our Delhi office. And Pooja, great to see you again. It's been a while since we've been on Called to Coach. Welcome back.
Thanks, Jim. It has been a while. We just counted, 4 months? I think we need to be, we need to meet sooner than that. Great to see you too. And our guest for today is Roma Ahuja. Roma, a warm welcome here. And as a quick introduction for Roma, she is the founder of Resources India, which is a boutique executive search firm that she founded in 2004. So she has over a decade of successful experience in talent development strategy for larger organizations that are entering India. So her expertise is in leadership development and target hiring, which has been widely recognized by her clients. Now, as a certified Gallup strengths coach, which is how I met Roma, she blends coaching as part of her advisory process to help her clients enhance their productivity, especially when transitioning into new roles, and specifically handholding women candidates in accepting remote work profiles after a career break. So again, it's always interesting to meet coaches who have used the idea of strengths and blended it with what they're currently doing. So recruitment, talent acquisition, etc., is definitely something that intrigues me, and would love to hear about how you have blended coaching with talent hiring, Roma. So very, very warm welcome, and hopefully we should get started, and we should have no technical snags going forward. So welcome here.
Thanks, Pooja. It's great to be connected, and thanks for that lovely brief and introduction you gave in. And hi, Jim. It's great. I've never had a connect, and it's great to be on this webcast with you. It seems like once in a lifetime. So I've been a search consultant for over a decade, and I have grown my practice through target hiring. There was a time when there were a lot of multinationals coming to the country, and I helped them put up their leadership teams. Now, over the past 5 years, when I have a lot of my clients and the candidates I've placed in the past who connect with me, they come back to me with they need a lot of feedback on their career journey and how they want to go ahead in life, whether they're taking the right moves or their next promotion, they're doing well or no. So that's the time I possibly realized that I needed a tool, a very specific tool, which kind of, gave me a trajectory with them where I could connect with them on a certain basis. So they would come in with a lot of tools in mind, where there was a conversation between extroversion and introversion, and not being able to reach out to people, in being very strong functionally, not being able to reach out to their team in every promotion they got. So when they got to me, I thought it was a good idea to kind of look at strengths, because what caught my eye at that moment was that there are those inherent talents, those that kind of belief, that thinking, feeling, behavior, which inherently comes in a person and is actually the inherent talent of a person. So I decided to take this accelerated program, and I think I had a great facilitation by Pooja and Vikash at that point of time. And I took the test. And what struck me about the test is the speed with which we go through those questions, which come forward to you, and it reduces that bias in your kind of your inherent responses which you give during that 1 hour space. And the outcome being that those 5 strengths which come by, and the 34. So once the strengths popped up, it was great to know that I was deliberative, strategic, analytic, relator, and a learner. Now, it was an instant connect. Strategic, analytic, learner, and relator was an instant connect in this entire strengths test. I felt that my skills and what I did was so true to what the inherent skills, the inherent talents which came out were very close. It was a very close, relationship between what I was doing and what actually came out. But when I looked at deliberative, it gave me some time to, accept the fact that I was deliberative. I knew my job required me to be very cautious, judicious. I had to be very confidential about clients and the way I went about my work. But I started purposefully looking at those trends and saying, oh my God, maybe there's somewhere down the line that I was in a raw state in my deliberative. I was kind of not using that rightfully. And so I looked further down my supporting strengths, and I looked at maximizer and individualization. And that's where I supported my deliberative with, maximizing each event, and using individualization to kind of get the best out of people within the organization and with my clients, so that I could get those highly productive outcomes. So it was a real aha moment when I actually realized that deliberative, my first 5 strengths, I now know that this is what I am made up of. And deliberative is something which possibly I was not using rightfully. And when I started using rightfully, I started collaborating further with people. I started reaching out more with people, knowing that, we have so many ideas moving around in our little organization that I have, but yet I could put in a little full stop at times on these ideas because we needed to think through them, and commercialization was a big issue. In our own practice, commercialization is very, very important. So had my colleague take this test, and it came out that his top 5 were learner, achiever, activator, ideation, and responsibility. Now, this was a great moment because I had my colleague who would say that, I have these, I want to grow the firm with so and so domains, and the activation was like, look, I want to go headlong into it. Every time there was a new domain which opened without a thought, there was no strategy. He says every morning in the morning meeting we would go headlong into it. So it was one of those aha moments when I could kind of shape and groom my little group which I had down here, and we kind of worked out 4 or 5 domains which we could work on. And that's where we felt that these strengths have purposefully given us a true purpose in life, and my organization a true purpose, how to move forward. It was great. We didn't know about it, but when we knew about it, we started wiring ourselves towards moving towards them, rather than saying, oh, I lost that deal because possibly I didn't connect with him well. So maybe the next time I do, I'll do it like Roma does it. It doesn't work like that. You got to work your own strengths out and deal with the situation. And this is what the Strengths Accelerated program put us on this trajectory.
I think
And
it's
we're
an
very
excellent
glad.
example, Roma, of the application. Of course, you've spoken about the self awareness part of it, and I still believe it starts with there. But excellent application in terms of what we call strengths based teams. When you can almost be aware of each other's themes, and the second thing is leverage them. He can leverage yours, and you leverage his. So that's how teams become more holistic and more well rounded. So that's excellent examples. Both, thank you for sharing that. So tell me, since the time you did the course, have you also been involved in any sort of strengths based coaching for your clients?
Yes. So,
Okay.
well, as I said, I'm in the business where people always connect with me when they need to move on, or there is an employee engagement. I'm a lot into analytics, so we get into a lot of employee engagement surveys and programs. So there was an HR leader who was deliberating at that point of time, kind of move into a remote mode, and she told me that she's spoken to her company, a company which is a very large Fortune 500 company, and this was almost 3 years back. So she wanted to move into a remote mode because she was kind of going on a career break. Her children were going to be giving the high school exams in 2 to 3 years. So she says she was not getting maximum out of a home as well as work, and she was possibly going to be slotted for the next placement with their global initiative in this particular firm. But she was ready to work remote because she wanted to put her family on kind of a work life balance. So when she connected with me, she kind of told me that I just feel that I'm not doing enough with my life, and look at, there's so many women out there I envy. I role model them, how they've handled their professions, and they're in the top management. And it seems to be the biggest ask for me. And that's the time when I she knew I had done strengths coaching, but I didn't bring it up. I told her, look, let's sit together, have a cup of coffee and work it out. That, look, I took her through through what you love, what you envy, and what drives you crazy. What are those buttons which drive you crazy? So it emerged that basically what was driving her crazy was at work she had she used to bring in so many initiatives, but there were people who would not follow through with her at every possible initiative. And she envied, she wanted to be like a lot of women in other setups where she was achieving a lot, and she wanted to be known. So I told her, definitely, this is amazing. This was the first connect with I had with her when she professionally connected with me. And I said, it's a good idea if you take the strengths test, because she had already taken the uh, another tool which said that she was an ENTJ, and in and she was not happy how she was using her extroversion at that point of time. So she took the strengths test. She didn't buy into taking more than her first five. She says, I want to unlock, I need to be convinced about this tool. So she I made her buy the strengths test, and she took it. And what came out was that she was an ideation, strategic learner, intellection, and maximizer. And that's when the entire plethora opened up, because in our first meeting she said she had so many initiatives in her mind which she was trying to reach out to her company, but the buy-ins were becoming less. And that's the time when she said she needed to work remote, because she needed time to think how she would get people into working. So when she moved into the remote mode, she was unable to kind of strike a relationship balance with the people she was working. She used ideation, but somewhere down the line, it was not getting petered into her work group. And so by and by, she started working on alternatives of starting her own firm in rewards and recognition. So we worked out a strategy, and through her learner and intellection, she started maximizing the entire potential. And how I helped her was, through my analytical viewpoint of how she would move ahead and with the input I had in my supporting team, I felt I really helped her in, carving out a strategy for how she would move ahead. So we had a couple of calls every week. We used to meet virtually, and we met, say, once in 3 months. And over a 6-month period, she started her own firm and moved on because her firm could not find a collaborative node with what she wanted to do. And she started her own firm, and of course she had a lot of issues. She says at home there's nobody who backs her up. So I said, why don't you tell me my I said, you tell your husband, why doesn't he buy into the strengths? So she asked him, and he just did the test. He was a person who was with an NGO, heading an NGO. And so his top 5 strengths were empathy, adaptability, developer, learner, and harmony. So he would always go with her in every aspect of life. He was so adaptable, but he was whimsical about so many ideas which would come up, and she wouldn't follow it through. So that's the time she decided to unlock her remaining strengths. And her next set of strengths worked out to be achiever, input. When she started using achiever and input, she kind of got that aha moment, saying that, look, this is what was needed. There was no connection between the input and achiever. And she started using the relationship themes of her husband, that's empathy and harmony, that negotiation, and they have a company which is now hiring like 10 people a month averagely. And they are almost 100 strong. They are into rewards and recognition, and amazing. I think it's been a perfect aha moment. Whomever they hired, they didn't hire because of strengths, but after they brought them in to engage the employees, they brought in strengths as the main tool for engagement and performance management. It became a go-to
Yeah.
people for her, and
Mm.
that go-to people has now become a strategy. So she's moved beyond her position of being an HR leader and moving on to actually working on the go-to people with her entire team and her clients.
I think I'm loving your examples, Roman. They're so practical and implementation oriented. That how you've been able to actually put it to use, and it's wonderful to see, people get out of just knowing who they are to what they can do with it. And great examples, all of them. So I'm curious, Roma, what of course you've mentioned it just yourself that they aren't using people, they aren't using strengths for hiring people, but once they're on board, etc. Because we know that Strengthsfinder is not a hiring tool. Given that the core of your business is around talent acquisition and getting people placed in the right jobs, I'm just curious about when is it that you introduce the idea of strengths, and not sort of it stays clear from the actual hiring, and yet it's beneficial to what you're trying to do with them.
Yes. So what happens is, whenever we meet our clients in the hiring process, we often meet with the hiring managers or the hiring heads, and that's when they tell us, oh, we need talent as of yesterday. That's the way it works.
Mm.
Everybody says, I need talent as of yesterday. So, and it works out that there are examples where companies tell us that we hire people. I'm not sure the hiring manager is getting the right that right sweet spot, that I'll hire someone better than me. So of course, that's purely because he's potential. He possibly thinks everyone needs to be like him or her, you know. So that label of trying to say that I need to be following a position, the work culture has moved beyond that. We started in 98 in matrixed organizations. We moved into networking, where organizations have moved on to WhatsApp networking, and everything has a like, an emoticon. So you kind of you don't move beyond that emoticon. Now what strengths does is it helps a person move beyond an emoticon of a like. It says, look, I need to connect with you for a, B, C, D things, and I need to know that these are the things I can do together with you. So huddling together and collaborating is what actually brings in aha moments, and makes those accomplishments of a company much more. It's a breakout session. You're making worth it people. They're making careers which are more worth it. So in hiring, the next step, the next progression has to be into employee engagement, and absolutely seeing that you engage your people. And even if people leave you, it is important to know that this is the most worth it experience you gave them was collaboration. This is something that you will not go away from. And of course, weakness fixing, you can't be spending your hours weakness fixing. You're then trying to copy a functional leader who said, I was a gold medalist all my years, and I was perfect at my skill, but when it came to go to people, I couldn't scale up. you know so it's there's been a dynamic change in work cultures today. You have the millennial generation which says I want to start up, and they are very great at coming out with prototypes and getting venture funding. But when it comes to scaling up beyond 5 to 10 people is where they all come and connect with coaches like us. They need us because we need to be able to facilitate those sweet spot moments of theirs, those blind spots which they don't know about themselves. They need to be able to move ahead from that comfort zone of a position of being a startup entrepreneur and scaling up companies in the right way.
I think excellent point around selection and engagement, and that's how Gallup sees it too. I mean, I know the modes have changed in the past, and it's more a here and now generation. And you mentioned millennials, and we've done research on that as well. But the research on it is very, it's an age old research, and that's what we have something called the Gallup path. It's based on that. So you hire for talent, and that's what is the stepping stone to engagement. And you've absolutely got that right, of course, putting it context of startups, etc. So tell me, when you get into a relationship with somebody at the time when they're let's say looking out for a change in role or things like that, how does the trajectory normally go? So once, let's say, now this lady, she's sort of started, as an example, now that she's settled and she sort of
Yes.
got through that initial hump that she reached you out for, how does your relationship progress? Or is it transactional to that extent and then you move on? How does that happen?
Yes. So it's very clear that now when we connect, it's the language has changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our language is collaborative. So she's on a growth mode, and so we move ahead. But when a person comes looking for a new job or wants to find his comfort zone in the next position, is also when he would connect with me, and he would say, look, I'm an introvert. So at the first thing is that we don't bring in tools immediately. The first
Yeah.
thing is to kind of connect with your coachy with the right kind of tools. Maybe theme map it, find out what are his yearnings, what are his goals, where does he want to take his career on to. And after that is when a tool is required, because without a tool you cannot quantify exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
You need to have a roadmap, and the roadmap is through the tool. And beyond the
Yeah.
roadmap is when you connect and you look for further collaborations for the person, so that when there are times when there are challenges and upheavals, they are well, they've kind of padded themselves up, saying that, look, now I'm starting a new division, so I hire a new set of people, or I promote someone within the organization to lead that. So this happened with one of my clients. It's a consulting firm, and they called me over to, saying it's the year end and we need to do another. So since it's into marketing research, and they are a lot into number crunching, they had some 4 ideators in their team grid. When we put the entire strengths on a grid in the Excel sheet, there were people, 4 ideators, and the people with the strength of ideation all had a different set of their first 5. So at the end of the day, my client said that, look, you mean they all have the same report? I said, no, in your theme insight report, each ideation person has a different report because his other 4 strengths are totally different. And that's when then it was a revealing moment for the person, their leader, the person who headed them, to say that, look, I now need to place them in strategic places within the company so that each initiative gets the right amount of, ideation, and we are not kind of always just stuck with ideators, and we can move into a mode of commercialization and activation of most of the projects. So these are moments which I think has become a language with a lot of my clients I deal with at this point of time.
I am most happy to hear you use the tools that we have given you. So your mention of theme maps and team grids. You don't know how happy that's making me at this point. So do you think
and
those?
and the yes, the Johari window, when it says blind spot, it's
Yeah,
you got to see that one-on-one coaching. The person says, hey, I didn't know that, there are people who thought so much about me, and now I need to know that I have so much potential which I can work up to. So
yeah,
in a nutshell, we don't look at the weaknesses when you're talking about a blind spot. It also does have something that which you didn't know, and it may have been in the raw stage which you need to mature up, and that maturing up comes in with your supporting strengths. It's important to use those supporting strengths, which come after your first five. So I always
yeah,
tell my clients that if you've not unlocked the remaining, I think it's time you go ahead and do it, so that I can help you further in and coach you. It's been really amazing that people in the learning business, in this particular domain, they use a lot of micro and macro level tools in their journey. And it is seen that as you keep using macro level tools, your trajectory moves towards a bell curve, because what you get your returns keep coming down. But if you recertify, so in the learning curve, through your one-on-one micro level coaching, you recertify at a certain level, you can make that trajectory move upwards. It becomes a positively shaped upward curve. So that's where you actually measure learning outcomes. And
yeah,
I feel this has been a true learner. When I see statistics in the market which says that, look, we are moving away from the bell curve, there's a reason, because you need to be able to take technology in. It has disrupted normal processes, and those normal processes are easily done by technology. But what about the rest? You can't say that technology took away my job.
hmm,
I need to have more than that. I need to be able to collaborate further and take that learning up, that curve up. Yeah.
yeah. So, Roma, a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, before we sort of open it up to the chat room if they have questions, is specifically you've mentioned and you've spoken about handling transition for women who are coming back to the workplace, and Gallup is interested in this entire field, and we ourselves have just published research on women in the workplace. So, just wanted to get a handle on your experience of how is it different for that particular constituency.
Yes. So it's I do a once a year Women's Day, coaching session with a group of 10 women who enroll into my program, and often it's been now 3 years, so I have coached 30 women over the past women professionals over the past 3 years, and they all are extremely successful. They come with they come with so much input and so many ideas across the table. It's just that there is a disconnect down in the organization, because an organization, if it is not collaborative and does not understand where your employee is coming from, that collaboration, that space needs to be broken down, and they need to be able to work in smaller collaborative groups. So actually, to help women or anybody who needs to work on a micro level, is when you need a tool which brings in strengths. And it's important that coaching I have a lot of clients who tell me, look, I don't like to be talked about, that I'm coming to meet you for coaching. I rather say I'm coming to look for a job to you, but not for coaching. So uh, that stigma needs to move out, because
Yeah.
it actually would, yes, it would empower. So it's an empowering experience for most women whom I've coached in the past 3 years, and a lot of them have moved beyond their houses, and they took their breaks, they got back into the work culture. And there are a lot of companies, Fortune 500 companies, who are following the strengths mechanism, and they are
Yeah.
well into it. Yes, there
Mm.
there are a few companies they work for who are on the strengths already, and they kind of relate with it from the word go.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think it's very vital that you take on a tool and plan your career if you want those productive outcomes. It's important.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for that. Jim, do we have any questions from
Yeah.
the chat
No,
room?
it's been actually real quiet out there in the chat room tonight. So, Roma, I think you've done a nice job of really giving us some great details on that. Pooja, I would say if you've got another question, but if not, we can thank our guest and we think about closing this out. But anything else, Roma? Did we miss anything?
No, I think it's been perfect, very focused questions, and I think I've used my individualization to the maximum here and got the best out of my questions and discussion with Pooja today. Yeah.
No, I think it's been excellent. Like I said, right from your first example to all, everything you've shared is extremely practical. It's extremely, extremely in tune with what's happening. So, technology, women, millennials, and the changing scenario and all of that, and how does coaching. And you're right about the stigma part of it. Sometimes the positioning has to be that it's not a stigma, it's a very empowering tool. And my experience with women has exactly been the same. So, once you start talking about it, they feel a lot empowered, they feel a lot better about, who they are as professionals. So again, thank you so much for sharing that. It's great to know how you've tied in the idea of talent acquisition with coaching. And that's I'm always, and I keep telling this to Jim as well, I'm always intrigued by the applications that our coaches have. So right from counselors to organizations to team blends to leadership coaching to education, and now you've actually used it in a very niche area of talent acquisition, which at least to my mind didn't come naturally, simply because we say that Strengthsfinder is not a hiring tool. But the way you've blended it out to make people feel engaged and feel belonged to the organization that they are in, I think that's extremely novel, extremely creative, and I'm sure it's going to go a long way for you, Roma. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here on your webcast, and I look forward to greater connections.
And I think we should all together collectively thank technology.
It
Absolutely.
did work out in the end. It was pretty amazing, but it came through. And of course, we want to remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center. Just gallupstrengthcenter.com. Send us your questions or comments. If you'd like to be a guest blogger, we've got some spaces available for you on our blog site. If you want to write up through 400 to 600 words, send those in to us. We're looking for original content, but guest blogger in the subject line. Send that to coaching@gallup.com, and we will consider it for the blog. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, as well as all the past ones are available for you, and all our social resources as well. They're all listed on our coaches blog. Just go out to coaching.gallup.com. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup certified strengths coach, we mentioned that a few times in today's webcast. You can see a complete list of all the courses that lead to it, including their locations, on our courses page. Really simple. Just go out to courses.gallup.com or fill out the contact form right there on the live page, and someone will get back to you. Join our Facebook group as well. If you just head out to facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach, TO in that, called-to-coach. Love to have you join us. Many of you have come off the webcast, and we'd love to have you in that group. More than 10,000 strengths enthusiasts in that Facebook group. Love to have you out there. Again, facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. We'll look forward to the next Call to Coach. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.